Right, legends. Just love this song. Just love this song. It feels like I just want to stay here and listen, finish listening to the song before I go live. Absolute beautiful song that my brother produced. Is it the bearish song? Because I see someone made a comment. Is this the bearish song? Okay, but we're going to analyze the price of Bitcoin today, where we do pure technical analysis here on this channel. Maybe we'll look at ETH if there's some time. It's Friday. Most probably getting ready for the weekend, watching some movies, maybe going out with friends, family, or maybe you're working. Because I remember when I worked in the retail industry, actually I do remember those days when I worked in the retail industry, is that you tend to work the hardest when everyone is taking a break. Right, legends, welcome to another live stream. If you have not hit that like button just as yet, tap it ever so gently. Let's get into the technical analysis. And maybe before I get to the meat and potatoes, because I think the most interesting thing that everyone wants to discuss today is what is happening here. Okay, so first, let's just zoom out a little bit. Okay, before we get here, and just discuss this entire structure. Because often you have to look at the entire structure in its entirety to see the probabilities and the scenarios and what could happen next. Right, the Doomsday scenario. Let's start with this scenario, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, I never thought the Doomsday scenario would play out, but here we are discussing the Doomsday scenario. Where price is at the moment is where it needs to reject. It can still make another high, okay? Price can still do this, but as long as you do not tap the invalidation, you could still go down for this little structure to the downside. This scenario is still intact, a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inside of your third wave, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, where it needs to reject, not tap the 0.618 and fall to the downside. So price, unfortunately, is still in a danger zone. And I will show you guys now what I mean by that indicator, okay, that failed us the last time and we had absolute havoc. Yeah. Do you guys remember this? Okay. We're going to discuss that in a moment. So in this scenario, what is dangerous about this scenario, legends, is that every time we have a dump, okay, every time we have a dump, we have a 3-wave up. We have a dump, we have a 3-wave up. And guess what? We had a dump, and for the moment, this is a 3-wave structure. With or without another high. Even if it does this, it's still a 3-wave structure. Okay. So there is danger. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is, if you are a bear and you're speculating on more downwards momentum, well, this is a very interesting area to start looking for shorts. Obviously, guys, like I've said in the previous screen, I'm not a financial advisor. You do your own research. I'm just here to share with you what I see from a technical analysis perspective, from an entertainment perspective, okay, and from an education perspective. I'm not a financial advisor. Okay, so, but I see there's also a nice little trend forming over here, okay? Nice little trend forming over here. So it would be interesting to see that, well, if price can manage, okay, because then you just simply apply your trading strategy. If price can manage to break out here, okay, maybe form that bullish pennant, we'll see what plays out over here. But I mean, this is where I plan to apply my trading strategy, but it's not time. It's not time just as yet for the bigger swing trade to the upside. Okay, this is actually a zone where it's better to speculate on a swing trade to the downside to at least come and claim the low, right? Just looking at the structure, dump, 3-wave, dump, 3-wave, dump, while we have, for the moment, a 3-wave structure that could eat up the low again. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a beautiful swing trade to the downside. It might take a week or two to play out, but we do know that the dumps happen, you know, they can happen relatively quickly, even in one day. Okay, so from a larger time frame perspective, what I wanted to highlight is, for the moment, this is a three-wave structure. Whether this is a W, X, Y, or an ABC, it does count better as an ABC because the X wave went too deep and now we claimed a high, but it's a three-wave structure, guys. And when you have a three-wave structure, after an impulse to the downside, there's usually a higher chance to break down again. Okay, this structure needs to show a five-wave structure. You want to see a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Once you see that, now that is interesting. Because after a five-wave move up, you expect a corrective structure. This is where you look for longs. Swing longs, okay, to at least come and claim this high and these little pivots here to the upside as your profit-taking areas. But for now, at the moment, this is a damn three-wave structure. There's no reason for me to open up any swing long positions speculating that we're going to claim that high. There's no reason for me at all at the moment. I need the structure to show me strength. Okay, so now what I would like to talk about is that little indicator that has failed us in the past. Okay, let me just take this out the way. And this is why I put the moon indicator on the chart. We all know, well, most of you know about the moon indicator because I've actually made a video about it as well in the past. Okay, but do you guys remember this little full moon? We have the pump to the upside, and I specifically remember this full moon indicator, which is a bullish indicator, by the way, because we were here at the top. There was euphoria in the air. The November, you know, the October. Okay, and we have a full moon, guys. the retracements are made for buying. And then what happened? We printed the full moon and we absolutely tanked to the downside. Okay, and now today, or a couple of days, or maybe a day or two ago, we printed another full moon. Okay, look at here, we also printed a full moon here. We did go up, but eventually we fell down. We went up ever so slightly, but we, you know, disastrous. And now we have another full moon. So is the high in, or is it going to give us one more high and then fall to the downside? So not really a reliable indicator unless it proves to be different this time. Okay, and this is why I need to zoom into the smaller time frames to analyze, well, this structure. Okay, this entire structure. We now need to analyze this structure. And then we can jump into this structure. Okay, if you have not smashed up that like button, what are you waiting for? Let's get into the technical analysis. Let's get into the meat and potatoes. The reason why people join this live stream for their daily dose of technical analysis. Okay, so legends, I have a lot of scenarios, but at the end of it, I will summarize it and show you which is the highest probable scenario from a technical perspective. Because I remember during the last live stream, I can't remember all the details because it was, you know, during the last live stream, do you guys remember what I said? Okay. When we had this move here to the upside, do you guys remember when I said when we had this move to the upside? Danger, it's a three-wave structure, it can fall down. Okay, we need to form at least a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now we got a 5-wave structure. So there is a chance for the bulls. Okay, I was looking for shorting opportunities in this zone, and together with the Legends Pro community, I actually showed them where I shorted. I did attempt to short, and I need to now remember. Okay, was it this one? Let me check. Yeah, that's where I attempted the short. Can you guys see that? At the 1.618. This is where I attempted the short. Okay, we did get momentum to the downside. I remember it was late at night already. This was at 10:30 at night already for me during the week, and that's way past my bedtime. Okay, so I had my stop loss around about here. I saw the momentum to the downside, and I highlighted 2 TP zones because I said, guys, this can be a 3-wave structure, and it can absolutely fall to the downside. ABC, and it's done. Okay, and I highlighted 2 TP areas. So this is where I entered, and I had TP1, TP2. It did not hit my TP area. My position was protected because I went to bed and I woke up, I was stopped out when I woke up. Okay. Well, at some point I got stopped out, but at least we did get the momentum to the downside. You know, you hit support, you get the bounce, and then we moved up. And then I was like, okay, now this is interesting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, now the bulls have a chance. So I should now be looking, okay, after we formed this high, I was looking for shorting opportunities. And now that we got momentum here to the downside, now I am very interested in longing opportunities, because I know that this can be a C wave that absolutely tanks down, but it could also give us another pump to the upside. So if I do see the reaction that I would like to see, well, you know, for me, that's a trading opportunity, because at the end of the day, I actually don't care whether we're going down or whether we're going up. I just want to have a level that I can pay attention to. I want to have a longing plan and I want to have a shorting plan. So now I want to go through a couple of scenarios. So here on this entire structure, there is the potential, okay, let me just draw it out fresh here, that you have formed an A wave, a B, and that is your C. Done. Okay, let me make this bigger so everyone can see. Let's make this primary. There we go. So for the moment, okay, and it's a beautiful three-wave structure, by the way. A, three-wave B, because B has to be a three-wave, beautiful. And C has to be a five-wave structure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. However you want to count it, it's a damn five-wave structure. So there's a chance that this could be the high and we're going to fall down. Right. So that is the most bearish case scenario. The high is in and we're going to fall down. But now I want to discuss this little, what happened here, what's happening here. I want to discuss this. Okay. But before I get there, let me just go through the scenarios over here. So definitely something to keep in mind. Okay. Then we have, I will go through that in a moment. Okay, it's basically the scenario that I've just discussed. All hell breaks loose and we take the low. Okay, maybe some bad news is going to come out today later. Okay, maybe there's going to be another tariff war. I don't know. Something's going to cause the dip. Okay, but we know technically it is possible. Then there's the low probability. Let me get the low probability scenario out the way. Very low probability scenario. Okay, where we basically still move down in a three-wave structure and we still move up in another C wave where you form a larger three-wave structure. For me at the moment, this is the lowest probability scenario, and the only reason I'm still discussing it is because it has not been invalidated, but it's not pretty at all. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. In this scenario, there is still a chance that you sweep the lows, okay, or you find support inside of this box and you make another leg to the upside to claim the high and then you fall down. It's just going to take much longer in time. So basically your correction is extending. Okay, so that's it. That's all I want to say about this scenario. Now, there's now the most bullish case scenario. Okay, is it this one that I, no, it's not that one. Oh, I should have sorted out my my folders before I went live. I completely forgot about it. This is the most bullish case scenario. Okay, which carries higher probability than the previous scenario that I've just shown you, is that you have formed a wave 1, okay, 5-wave move here to the upside, a beautiful 3-wave corrective structure in a wave 2, and now you're forming the first leg of your third wave. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is then wave 3. You either do another 4 and another 5, or it's an A, B, C, and it falls again to the downside. But this presents an interesting trading opportunity. Okay, in this scenario, if I look at this little structure that is formed over here, I would ideally, okay, if this is the high of number 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay, I would like this low to be claimed again. Because if this is the impulse and this is the correction, okay, there's a small little problem for me. Okay, and guys, I'm very pedantic and very technical about these things. Okay, when I take a time fib from the low to the high of the structure, you can see that when you zoom in, okay, and this is now me being very, very pedantic. Okay, this low was made before my minimum requirement. So in the most bullish case scenario, where we go to $100,000, I would like this corrective structure to still continue and make a low after the 0.382. And I almost thought we're going to make a fresh low over here. Now we're getting a little bit of a bounce. So it would be nice just to grab, make a fresh low, and then the low will be made after the 0.618, which then from a timing perspective tells me that you now have a corrective structure that balances in time with the impulse, and that could be an interesting longing opportunity for momentum back to claim the highs and maybe a little bit higher, $96,000, $95,000. Okay. Right. I hope you guys find this interesting. Okay, guys, for me, this is like putting a puzzle piece together. And sometimes it's not just about trading it. It's just to see that, was I right with my highest probable scenario? What actually played out? I favored this scenario. Did it play out the way that I saw it was going to play out? For me, it's just like putting a puzzle piece together. Okay, because there's another scenario that I wanted to share over here is, if I can find it. Ooh, why do I have I need to talk about that scenario as well. Okay. So now this is where it gets very interesting, and this is something that Andy highlighted yesterday to the pro community as well, because Andy had a couple of scenarios, and then I highlighted to Andy, what if we don't take the high again? Okay, from a channeling perspective, and I am going to discuss more channeling inside of this channel. Channeling is extremely powerful if you know how to use it correctly. Okay, so basically you have your wave 1 and 2. That's what creates the channel. And it's very common for your third wave to break outside of the channel. And then your fourth wave should not tap the bottom of the channel. Remember, guys, I've got that in the Doomsday scenario as well. And then we created another high tapping exactly the top of the channel. So when I saw this yesterday, and we were trading over here yesterday, this is where we were chopping yesterday, I kind of felt like the probabilities are higher to move down. Okay, the probabilities are higher to move down because your fourth wave is not allowed to get acceptance outside of the channel, which tells me that your impulsive structure has a high chance of being finished. Because I know, okay, and this is one of the scenarios that some people are counting the structure as a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, there's a problem. From a channeling perspective, there's a problem. It's not an invalidation, but there's a problem. You want your impulse to finish inside of this, or above this channel, above the lower end of the channel. You want the impulsive structure to finish. So based on channeling, because this can give you clues, based on channeling, it tells me that your impulse is finished. And this is part of a correction that's correcting this entire impulse. Guys, I know this gets extremely technical, okay, but it's interesting as hell, right? When you start putting these puzzle pieces together, you're just like, wow, I can start making sense of the chart. So based on the channeling that I've just shown you, it tells me that, well, maybe, just maybe, okay, this is the impulse. And if there's a chance for this to be a wave 1, and it's now creating a wave 2, okay, I'm looking for longing opportunities to play the third wave to the upside. Or, okay, and I'm going to get to the bearish case scenarios now, legends. I'm getting there, okay? I'm discussing the bullish case scenarios. Hi, Dewald and legends. Jack, welcome. Jeroen, see you. DJ33P, good morning. Thank you, Dewald. Great TA. Thank you so much. Okay, I will go through the comments in a moment. I'm reading your comments as they're coming through. More pain incoming to the downside. Yes, I mean that doomsday scenario has not been invalidated. Unfortunately not. Okay. Hey, Dewald and Legends. Very interesting. You're a technician. Right, let's carry on, okay? Because, yeah, it's so interesting, guys. And this is why I like to go live, because it's so interesting for me to talk about these scenarios, okay? And then at the end of it, I'm going to show you, well, what is my plan? How do I plan to trade this with great risk management? Okay, because often the questions that I get is to say that, Dewald, you've gone through so many scenarios, but what now? Well, I'm going to show you, I go through a lot of scenarios, but I have a plan in terms of how I plan to trade them. And if the plan doesn't work out, then there's no plan to execute. Then I make another plan, okay? Because there's always another trade around the corner. Right, one of my plans, by the way, guys, yesterday is when I spoke to Andy yesterday, one of my plans was the following, okay? It's too late now for that plan, but one of my plans was the following. Andy, if Andy's here in the stream, he knows this is what I highlighted. I said, Andy, you know, this is a very interesting plan. Okay? Because if this is an ABC, if this is an, you know, if you're speculating on an ABC and this is the high, well, maybe it's a good place to build a position. Don't over leverage. You're not building a position with your entire account. You're still applying your great risk management. You're not supposed to tap that 0.618 if we are still expecting the low to be claimed. Okay, so this is a very interesting zone to build a short. Okay. Anyways, right, it's too late now. It's already, I mean, you're incurring too much risk if you want to build that plan now at the moment. But it's just an interesting conversation that I had yesterday with Andy. Okay, also based on the channeling, guys, you know, it was also based on the channeling. Let me not trip over my words, okay? From a channeling perspective, you know, sometimes you need to have technical analysis in order to give you a scenario so that you can trade the scenario with good risk management. And from a channeling perspective, I knew that there's a high chance that the high could be in. And now we're going to start falling to the downside, which price is now grinding to the downside. But I'm going to discuss this structure in a moment. I'm going to discuss this structure. Okay. So this is the bullish case scenario. The bullish case scenario, okay, tells me that there's a good chance that the high is in. So if there's a good chance that the high is in, then, you know, I want to take my fib from the low to the high. Now, this little area over here becomes very interesting together with the 0.382. That is usually the minimum requirement that I would like to see for a bounce back to the upside. So if price falls, I'm interested in a long, depending on how price reacts at this level. Remember, I'm a reactionary trader, and if I don't see the reaction that I like to see, I will stay out, because there's a very there's a dangerous situation about it's either going to bounce, okay, or it's going to fill this inefficiency. But this is the last line in the sand, and it also aligns beautifully with the 0.382. Okay, so I have some confluence. Also, when I take a trend-based fib, okay, I was just, you know, playing around, because yesterday we got a beautiful bounce here by the 1.382. Beautiful bounce. That's where I took a small little long position. But we still have the 1.618 together with the 0.382. Nonetheless, I have some confluence. Okay, that's the game plan, is that I have some confluence. You have the range low. You have the range low together with a 0.382, and ideally what you would like to see is for price to bounce, get a reaction. No reaction, no trade. I am not interested, and this is my plan, guys, I am not interested in a trade inside of this zone. Not interested in anything. I am not trading anything inside of this zone because of this. High volume, straight candle to the upside. There's no price action that could potentially fall the move yet or catch the move to the downside. So if I'm still speculating on a long to the upside, it needs to happen here or it needs to happen here. So this area. I am not interested in this area over here. I hope that makes sense. If it does bounce in this area, so be it. I will have another plan to get into that trade. Okay, but I am not interested in a swing failure in this zone over here, because look at what happened. You have the fall to the downside, price chops, 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 and then just shoots through because there's no resistance. There's no support. So if price loses this zone, it could literally just waterfall to the downside. And if you have limit orders, you know, and this is the danger with trading with limit orders. If you have limit orders, you could find yourself very deep underwater and then biting your nails, not getting proper sleep because now you're like, oh shit, Dewald said this was a danger zone and now we're here. I hope it bounces. And guys, hope is not a strategy. Okay. Right, so in essence, let me summarize. The bearish case scenario is that price, okay, does not bounce anywhere. It just slices. But this is the plan. This is my plan. Okay. Simply put, this is my trading plan inside of this structure. And you might be saying, well, Dewald, what if this is a C wave and we're going to absolutely fall down here? And I will discuss this structure in a moment. But this is basically my plan, is to say that we're either going to get a bounce here, where I'm interested in a long, or, okay, this is another one, or we break that trend from a front running perspective, because I have seen it. Price does like to front run. Okay, so I'll have my trend ready, which I do. But in the zone is a no trading zone for me. So I'm interested in a long year, I'm interested in a long year, and I'm interested in a long year. That's it. And depending on how price reacts at those levels, I will play the momentum to the upside. And you guessed it. Even if we get the bounce here, okay, I'm going to follow my trading plan. I will take profits when we hit resistance, because you could fall here to the downside, reject at the trend and then fall, and at least I took profits. Okay, so you need to just execute your trading plan. If price wants to waterfall to the downside, let it go. I'm not interested in a trade, because although this is my plan, guys, price could do this. It just waterfalls to the downside. If I don't see the reaction, no trade. If I don't see a reaction, no trade. And if I do get into a trade because there is a reaction, okay, I will apply my trading strategy with great risk management, and if I'm wrong, hopefully I get stopped out at break even or with a small little loss. Okay, so that is my plan. Now, what are the probabilities of breaking down? Okay, so regardless from a channeling perspective that I've shown you guys right now, is that usually, okay, so let me clean up the chart over here. Let me clean it up. Okay. When price makes a high, so we're now speculating on this. This is now what I'm focusing on. What if this is an A, B, C, and it's going to fall? So I'm very interested in what's happening after we made this top. Very interested. Okay, because you have to form an impulse to the downside in order to fall. You have to form an impulse. So now I go and I look at this structure. Just want to see something here. Yeah. Dewald, why don't you come free chat of Legends community? Dewald, why don't you come free chat of Legends community? Free chat. Oh, the free section. Are you guys there in the free section? Maybe I will pop in today. Maybe I will pop in today. At the moment, 87% chance for a rate cut. And if we don't get the rate cut, it's... But it does look like, guys, it does look like, and what I'm about to discuss, okay, it does look like the structure is getting ready for more upwards momentum. That's what the problem, and this is why my plan looks like this. I'm looking for a bounce. Okay, but I can trade this plan with great risk management. Right, and this is now what I want to discuss. Since we made this high, okay, now I need to zoom in here on the 15-minute time frame. since we made this high, can I count an impulsive structure to the downside? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? No, I can't. Okay, no overlap. Okay, it's overlappy, it's over choppy. So no, I cannot count an impulsive structure. Can I count a diagonal? Okay, now I have to try and figure out, well, is there a diagonal? Okay, no, it's expanding. Expanding structures never takes the higher probability. Okay, it's not pretty. I cannot give an expanding structure the highest probability ever. Okay, I don't even like to talk about them. That's how rare they are. They have less than 1% chance of playing out. That's how rare they are. So out of 100 trades, you will see them once. So I'm not even going to discuss an expanding structure. If there was a contracting diagonal in there somewhere, then I would have said yes. But now, what is this? A complete mess here to the downside. Right. So the only bearish case scenario from an impulsive perspective is 1, 2. You know, nested 1, 2s. So now I'm looking at this to say that, well, if this is a 1 and a 2, okay, maybe there's another 1 and a 2. And then you have another 1 and 2. You have another 1 and 2. Okay, you're still forming lower highs. So that looks good so far. But then, now, what is this? This doesn't make sense to me at the moment. Unless this is a 1 and a 2 in an AB, you know, in a three-wave structure that ended. It's just, this structure is just, it doesn't make any sense. Because ideally, what you would like to see in multi 1-2s is a 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. They become smaller. They form that contracting scenario. Okay, that's the most common double 1-2 structure that you see. I mean, we've had plenty of them. Do you guys remember? Look at this. Okay, look at your 1-2s. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. It forms a diagonal. It absolutely waterfalls to the downside. 3, 4, 5, 4, 5. And we spoke about this, okay? And we got momentum back to the upside. A, B, C, done, right? And we found momentum back to the upside. So now you guys can see from a look and feel perspective, if you look at this, 1-1-1-2, look how beautiful that looks. Now you look at this, and I'm like, this is an absolute mess. So I cannot give an impulse the highest probability from a technical perspective. Can it play out? Yes, it can. But this, for now, okay, this, for the moment, looks more corrective than impulsive to the downside. So based on this, it looks like the probabilities are higher to at least claim this high once again. Okay, now the question is, can we claim the high and still fall down? Yes, because, you know, there's another scenario that you say that, well, if the impulse ended over here, you can have a A, you form a B, and then you form another C. So it's just a three-wave structure. Okay, you do not tap that 0.618 on the macro time frame and you fall down. Right, but I can still take advantage of this move, guys. I'm a day trader. Okay, I don't care if it's a third wave and it's going to go to $100,000. I have my levels marked out. Just want to... I've spoken about that one. So let me go through everything just to make sure that I have covered everything and delete all the crap that I don't need. Okay. Yeah, that 0.382 needs to be tapped, guys. Okay, I've got this one multiple times. This is another scenario that I was thinking about. You know, alternative scenario, you have your 5 waves up. And, you know, I was just trying to make sense of this corrective structure. A, B, C, and you get the bounce back to the upside. But I will wait for the break of the trend. So same, different scenario, but same. I'm going to trade it exactly the same. So, you know, it's nice to see when you have different scenarios with the same outcome. That's the ABC. That's the low probability scenario. That's the plan that I've just shared. That's the channeling that I've just shared. Okay, all these fibs. I just want to take these things out the way. Yeah, that's us basically breaking out now. Okay, that's us basically breaking out now. So don't need that, guys. I'm just making sure that's the trend that I'm keeping an eye on. So I'm going to leave that trend. Okay, and Right, now let's discuss this scenario, because I see there are some people looking at this scenario. Okay, where you basically, and you know, you can even move your 4 over there, and if it wants to fall a little bit down again, okay, if it wants to do this and then bounce, okay, I will just move my 4 to there. But in this scenario, because I see there are people that's counting the structure as a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You reject at $96,000 and you fall to the downside in a larger 5-wave structure. But I showed you guys now, from a channeling perspective, it doesn't make sense. Okay, but regardless of whether it makes sense or doesn't make sense, this could also be an ABC. This could also be a WXY. It can still form a 3-wave structure to the upside that rejects here. And then the people that counted this as a 5-wave structure are going to tell me, I told you so. And then I'm going to tell them, no, 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 no. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is a B. And this is a C. It's a 3-wave structure. It's not a 5-wave structure. Okay, so once you make this high and you reject, people that's thinking that this is wave 5 are going to look for a 3-wave corrective structure and continuation to the upside, where I'm going to look at claiming the lows. That's the difference, because from a channeling perspective, it doesn't make sense to me. Also, this is getting very long in time compared to that. And you want to see a relationship between your second wave and your 4th wave. And it's getting very overextended in time. So I cannot label this a wave 3, this a 4, and this a 5. I would rather look at it as a 3-wave structure. Okay, so when you take, okay, let's entertain the momentum, but you guys can see I'm still planning to trade this. Doesn't matter if you're counting it wrong. I'm still planning to trade it. Right. When you take a FIP, trend-based FIP, from the low to the high to the low, well, you have these levels here to the upside. Very interesting. Okay. And if I switch on my weekly levels together with a 1-to-1 extension, if we do still get momentum here to the upside, which I would rather label, you know, maybe it's an ABC, maybe it's a WXY, maybe this is actually a W, this is an X, and you have a Y in an A, B, C. Okay, I don't know, the X wave tapped the 0.7, which theoretically should not tap or claim the high of W, but it can still form a 3-wave structure. But I'm still planning to trade the momentum to the upside. Ideally, what you would like to see is for this, okay, to actually just go. It needs to go, right? For the bulls, you want this to be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? But I can still, for me, from a day trading perspective, that is still a juicy long to the upside. I don't need to take advantage of the entire move. I just need a trading plan, and I need to know where to take profits. I need to know how to get in with good risk management and where to put my stop loss. So together with a 1-to-1 extension, we have a weekly naked point of control. So if price decides to bounce here to the upside, well, now that becomes a profit-taking area for me. Very interesting profit-taking area. But also an interesting shorting opportunity where you could potentially fall down again. Or it continues, it slices like a hot knife through butter. So you take profits, you leave some of the position open. Make sure it's protected. Okay, so guys, these are basically the scenarios that I am currently watching. Okay, so in summary, before I go through the comments, this structure for the moment looks more corrective. So regardless of what's going to form over here, it does look like the probabilities are higher to take that high again. Okay, whether it rejects there, whether it goes higher, I don't care. But this to me looks more corrective than impulsive to the downside. But there's always the chance, okay, that the 3-wave structure is done and it's just a very ugly double, triple, 1, 2 that's forming here to the downside. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, okay, and it's at some point and that's why I say you should not take these highs in a triple 1, 2. You should not take these highs. So you basically want momentum to continue to the downside and not break the trend. Okay, the most important high is this high over here. Okay, at $92,675. If price goes up and it takes this high, you will invalidate the multiple 1-2s to the upside and give even more probability to the bulls that you're going to take out this high, even with another low. Doesn't matter. Okay, because then you're starting to invalidate all the impulses to the downside. There's no contracting, there's no diagonal, there's no motive wave. The multi 1-2s will get invalidated. So you basically give priority to the bulls after you take this high, okay, that even if you still dump to the downside, you're still going to take out that high. So with or without a dump, you're going to take out that high if you take this high over here. Until then, the bears, yeah, could still be in control, where it just keeps on chopping, and at some point you get the waterfall to the downside. Right. Thank you, Dewald. Absolute pleasure. I really think that the 100K level needs to be retested. I mean, yes, you know, if I go back here onto the 1 hour time frame, what I would personally like to see, okay, we do have a weekly point of control at exactly that $101,000 area. And, you know, you also, it would be great to actually invalidate the scenario, because then people are going to ask, what now? It would be nice to invalidate this scenario, because there's going to be a lot of people that's going to ask, now what? Okay, are we going back up? Are we continuing the bull market? Did we not finish that ABC flat? What on earth is happening here? Create some confusion. So maybe what I will discuss in the next live stream with everyone, to say that, well, what happens if we do claim this level? Does that mean it's only up? Or is there still a chance to claim this low? And that's what I'm going to discuss maybe in my next live stream. Okay, because I know that a lot of people are going to look at this and say, okay, this scenario has been invalidated. It's only up. And they're going to stack their limit orders and their position sizes to say that, okay, well, now we're going to claim this high. Okay, so there is, the short of it is, even if you claim the top of this channel and you invalidate the impulse to the downside, there is still a scenario where you could claim the low. There's still a scenario. Okay, it does start to become more bullish, but there's still a bullish scenario where you claim the low again, which I will discuss in my next live stream. Okay, but it would be nice to invalidate the scenario, because I do see a lot of people talking about this. And it would be nice to invalidate it, and from a psychology perspective, take the low again and then move up. Right, but we'll get to that in the next live stream. I really think that 100K, yes, I've gone through that. Thank you, Dewald. Absolute pleasure. Dewald, can you share your volume profile settings? My session volume profile settings? Not sure if you're talking about this one. My session volume profile settings. Just have to wait for that to load up. Oh, I don't actually. There's my settings. Okay, you can take a screenshot of this. I don't have to hold it here while you type everything. So you can just rewind the video and pause the screen and take screenshot, I suppose. Okay, I'm not sure if that's the one that you mean. Range volume profile. Fixed range volume profile. Okay, are you talking about this one? You're talking about this one. Okay, there's my settings. That's the style settings, and that's my input settings. Also take screenshots of that if you want. Hi, Dewald. Can it be that we are in an impulsive wave from 1 December? Yes, this is what I've spoken about. 1 December, yes, yeah. Impulsive wave. I can count an impulse here, yeah. And the second wave of it now, yes, that's exactly what I've been discussing this whole time. There's definitely a scenario where this is an impulsive wave. You create a second wave and you go up in a third wave. Okay, here's basically the scenario that I've highlighted. If I, guys, I need to just make sure that my folders are way better prepared next time. It's Let me just draw it out again, guys. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now you're forming a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 inside of your third wave. Okay, that's the gist of it. Second wave can go all the way to the 786. Does not have to bounce here. Okay, and this is why I said, guys, my plan. This is why my plan is so important. Okay, this is why my plan is so important. Because if you are still expecting upwards momentum, this number 2 can be here and it can be here. But I am not interested in this zone. So either number 2 is in here or number 2 is in here. This is what I'm interested in. I don't like that there's no support inside of this zone. Okay, yes, so the short answer to your question is yes, this can be a wave 1 inside of a bigger wave 3. 1, 2, 3, and we go up. Okay, and this is also why I made this note over here, guys, is to say that this structure looks more corrective than impulsive to the downside, which then gives the scenario a higher probability that you're going to get a bounce at some point, okay, and take out this high again before you potentially take out the low. Okay, but guys, it's not about being right or wrong, okay, because sometimes the technical analysis show you that you're going to take this high. There's such a high probability that you're going to take out this high regardless of what happens here, and then price just tanks, waterfalls to the downside. And this is why you have to have a trading plan. Okay, you can't just FOMO into a trade here thinking that you're definitely taking the high, and then once you're underwater and you've taken the low, you're like, but it looked so good. It looked so good. Okay, you have to have a plan to trade the scenario. So this is my plan. But I also have a plan in terms of how I'm going to trade this with good risk management, so that if I'm wrong, how little can I lose? And if I'm right, how much am I going to make and where am I going to take profits? Right, legends, if you'd like to come and trade with me, as always, the link's down in the description. Bluffin has got an absolute amazing deal at the moment. You get 15% cash back, but I think if you deposit $20 for new registrations over here, they give you 100% back to trade with as well. You deposit $20, you get $20 extra to trade with. You lose $50 in a trade, okay? They will give it back to you to trade with again. So you get that little reset button after you die. You get a second life for free. So Bluffin is really pushing out, or ripping out the steps over here. I've got weeks. BTCC, guys, is I really enjoy trading on BTCC as well, where they've got commodities, silver, gold. Okay, and then Valto, for those of you that do enjoy a decentralized exchange from a privacy perspective, they have amazing trading fees. They are cheaper than Mexi. Okay, so for those scalpers always boasting about, yeah, Mexi's so cheap, Valto's cheaper, and it's private. Okay, I will make a tutorial to show everyone exactly how to trade on this exchange, because I've got numerous amounts of questions from people saying that they love the decentralized exchange idea. They just don't know how to trade on it, how to connect your wallet and those type of things. So I am busy making a tutorial to show you how to trade with Valto. I know the team personally. I know the CEO. I know the development team. So I trust this exchange. But I am still being cautious by testing it out, because, I want to make sure that I'm testing it out properly before I just throw $100,000 in there. Okay. Right. So these are the links down in the description. Also, your way to support the channel. And like I said, guys, these are affiliate links. I may earn commission from this, but it costs you nothing extra. It's at no additional cost to you. Right. Thank you, Dewald. Have a great weekend. Jeroen, absolute pleasure. You were actually in the private live stream that I did with the Legends Pro community a little while ago as well. So have yourselves an amazing weekend. Trade safe. Until the next one, cheers for now.